Hi everyone, meteorologist Emery here in the Fox 19 First Alert Streaming Center for our Sunday edition of our 19atSIX weekend weather show. We do it every Saturday and Sunday. And again, we are live wherever you stream, including on fox19.com, the Fox 19 News and First Alert Weather app, the 24/7 weather streaming channel, YouTube, and on Facebook with the Fox 19 Facebook page as well as my Facebook page at Ethan Emery WX. So, good evening, everybody. Hopefully you've had a great weekend so far, and hopefully it continues going into this evening before you go into the start of the work week. No Sunday scaries here. We're going to be talking about a warming trend in our 7-day forecast and some unsettled weather going into the next couple of weeks here in the Ohio Valley. More on that coming up, but as I always promise, the first few minutes of our 19atSIX weather show, it's our forecast first. It's something I want to do. That way, if you got plans this evening, maybe you got to do some homework last minute, maybe you got to do some laundry, maybe you're doing some dishes, getting dinner prepped, whatever it is you might need to do, I want to at least give you that forecast for the next 7 days. That way, if you need to continue doing those things, you can with no worries, and you'll at least get that information without anything dragging on. So I tend to talk a lot. And anyway, we'll move into our forecast first. Tonight, we got a low of 19 degrees. We're going to call it mostly clear for the overnight hours. Getting a little bit colder, but we head into the day on Monday. We are looking at temperatures improving up to 39 degrees, and we're going to call it sunny. So looking at a pretty nice start to the work week ahead. However, it gets better because Monday is the coldest day of the next 7 days. But it's going to be breezy. Wind gusts could get up to 25 miles per hour. Tuesday, partly cloudy and breezy, up to 45. We're in the mid-40s also on Wednesday. And then Thursday, we are looking at clouds increasing, 48. And then we're looking at more widespread rain. This time, it looks like it's coming in on Friday. So yesterday on 19atSIX, we mentioned rain Friday night. It's arriving a little bit earlier now because this system moving in, it's a lot of uncertainty at hand as to what this system is going to do exactly. We do know it's going to get warmer. We do know it's going to be rain, but the timing is what has kind of shifted here at this point. But regardless of that, rain showers will continue on Saturday, staying warm, it looks like, and then by Groundhog Day Sunday, 49 degrees under mostly cloudy skies. So that is your 7-day forecast in our forecast first. So if for some reason you need to leave, you need to take care of some stuff, wrap up the weekend, you can be dismissed at this point. Again, I do that way in case if you do need to do anything, you got no trouble. But hopefully you stay. Hopefully you can join in the conversation. We can go to Fox 19 Facebook page or my Facebook page, ask some questions, comments, whatever it may be. But we will dive into the 14-day forecast. We'll take a look at that outlook. We talked a little bit about it yesterday. Something I might try to include tonight on Fox 19, 10 o'clock news. We should be going on normal time. We've got the NFL game on right now. But we are going to be looking at that outlook because we're falling into what we call a La Niña weather pattern, which does bring us more unsettled weather for the winter months. And it looks like we're going to begin to see that trend increase. Again, more on this coming up. Right now, though, before it goes away, it might be too late now because we're kind of on that cusp of the sun completely setting on this view of our Newport Levee camera. I want to show it real quick because I aimed it this way. That way you can see the view. It's going to be dark for a second because our camera has this weird delay. You give it a second. There we go. Well, unfortunately, the color isn't there anymore. There was a nice red, fiery look. At this point, though, it's just some cloud cover kind of covering the setting sun at this point. But regardless, it's a beautiful view. It's always a beautiful view looking at the Queen City. And yeah, we are looking at some of those high, thin clouds. They're going to continue to move out of here as we are looking at clearer skies later tonight. Also looking at our Turfway Park camera. This is over in northern Kentucky. CVG Airport just over that tree line. Sometimes we get lucky and see the planes taking off or landing, but right now it doesn't appear to be the case. But take a look at this at full screen. And right now we are at 34 degrees. One last look here. This is over towards Mount Auburn, looking off to the north and east. This is over looking towards Walnut Hills, East Walnut Hills at that. But things are looking pretty good here this evening. And we'll take a look at radar. because radar is also looking quiet. We're going to be keeping things quiet here for the next couple of days. In fact, I don't even have any rain in the forecast until Thursday night. Now, Wednesday we were discussing maybe a flurry or a sprinkle to our northeastern counties. That chance continues to decrease. However, one model has really been persistent on keeping it. I'll show you that here in a second. But right now you can see here that things are looking A-okay for us. If you want to see rain, you got to go further off to the south, over towards the deep south and the lower Mississippi River Valley. Even into portions of Kentucky and Tennessee, some light showers there. We just got the cloud cover here for us, and that's pretty much it for us here across the eastern half of the U.S. A little bit of rain over towards Southern California, which, that's nice. They really need some moisture after all those wildfires. So you can see here, fortunately, that's encouraging news to see some moisture for those folks down that way. But for us here in the tri-state, again, we're going to keep things dry for us. Looking back at today, I mean, it was even a little bit warmer than we had in the forecast. This exceeded all forecast models just because of the fact that we did have a little bit of sunshine kind of aiding with that. And I was a little bit pessimistic, or I was more optimistic of us getting warmer because a lot of models were keeping us at 34, 35, 36 degrees. I went a little liberal with 37 degrees for our high. Even then, enough sunshine filtered through those clouds. We had enough of those winds to where we bumped up to 39, in fact. Overnight low was pretty similar to what I had. I had 28, it's 27. That's a 1 degree difference. So that's pretty good. And, of course, no precipitation for today. So pretty close to on par for what we usually see in late January, although the low temperature a little milder in comparison, but still that's normal with cloud cover. But right now, temperatures are in the 30s, a little low to mid-30s. I'll be honest today, it felt nice. I didn't wear a jacket coming into work. Now, I know my mom probably won't be happy at that fact, nor will my grandma be, but it felt nice. And on top of that, to keep them warm, not only just with the heater in the car, but also some coffee in my Bobcat mug. So the coolest spot right now is over in Batesville, Indiana, 28 degrees there. 32 in Lebanon and in Middletown, the mid-30s towards Batavia at the Lunken Airport as well at 36. 34 in Falmouth and CVG, 33 over at the Wilmington Airpark in Clinton County. Winds, pretty light, so really no issues with wind chills. Though, if you're curious, we don't have any wind gusts, but wind chills are in the upper 20s in a few locations, like Batavia right now at 29, 27 in Wilmington. Richmond, Indiana, 21, the wind chill up there. That's just outside of the viewing area, but that's closer towards I-70 there, north of Union County. So again, we'll go into tonight's forecast, and then tomorrow take a pause and look at our Facebook comments and questions, and then we'll move on with the forecast, talk about the chances of some precipitation, maybe Wednesday evening, and then also the rain coming in by the end of the work week. So overnight tonight, temperatures falling down to 19 degrees. Mostly clear skies. Those clouds you saw there on the cameras will be moving on out of here. And then for tomorrow, a lot of sunshine. High temperatures will be similar to today. So maybe a few spots in the low 40s. Can't rule that out either. So at this point, take a look at those Facebook comments and questions, and then we'll go ahead and continue on with our 19atSIX. Darla says, good evening, Ethan. Hope you had a great day and weekend. Yeah, thank you, Darla. Yesterday I did some spring cleaning. Weather Center needed some cleaning and touching up with a lot of dust in some spots. And now that we're getting a little bit warmer and we're kind of in the beginning of flu season, did a little wipe down just because, just be on the safe side. I like to be clean. And on top of that, today I did a little bit of meal prepping. I cooked a lot of bacon. My mom got that for me when she was visiting, so I was trying to cook that. And you had to cook it all at once. You can't cook some and then leave it for later. Growing up, you just gotta, if you got a pound of bacon, you gotta cook it all at once, and that's what I did. And had to burn some candles because my entire apartment smelled like bacon for a while, which to some might love that fact. I'm a very, I like my smells to be neutral or not abundant with food, if it's possible, even after dinner and stuff. So After the bacon, had the windows open, cleared that out, and burned some candles while I was doing some work. And yeah, my weekend's been pretty chill. Thank you, Darla, for asking that. Sarah says, hey, hope everybody is having a good evening. You too, Sarah. Okay. And by the way, when it comes to our 19atSIX weather show, I try to be interactive. So at any point you want to say anything, please keep it respectful, of course. But, let me know how you're doing. If you want to see more of a location, if you want me to have a cool event to forecast for, I'm all ears. I use this opportunity for feedback. I use this opportunity for any way you'd like to be represented here at Fox 19. Because obviously this is a service of not only my forecast, but also presentation to where you feel represented. Because I'm somebody who, obviously I'm from this area. I grew up in Highland County. I always try to shout out the smaller communities when I can, because too often do we focus on just Cincinnati or just Hamilton or just Batavia or Independence or Florence. Those places matter, but in my opinion, everybody matters, whether it's the population of 10 in some township or rural area to downtown Cincinnati. And I will say, if you want it on the map to show it, it's kind of impossible. There's way too many locations to fill in, but I try to verbally communicate that. All right, enough of me jibber-jabbering. Let's go ahead and look at some of the comments. Tom says, thank you, Ethan. Gail says we need rain. Well, we're going to get it beginning on Thursday night. Gail said California needs rain, which I just heard it is raining there. Yes, I just showed that on the radar. Looking pretty nice there. Betty says, hello, Ethan. How's your weekend? Please no more snow. Right now, the snow looks like it's not going to be here in Cincinnati or the tri-state area, so that is a positive. Richard asks, how does long-range forecast look ahead? We'll dive into that 14-day forecast here in a moment. Brenda says, great 2 days, Ethan. Hope you enjoyed it too. Thank you. Betty says, I'd like to see more Lawrenceburg, Indiana, and I've been sick for a week now. I'm sorry to hear that, Betty. Hopefully you are feeling better soon. Lawrenceburg, Indiana, you're absolutely right. And I know sometimes we try to show the Perfect North Slopes camera when we get the opportunity to in the mornings or the evening shows. But I'll make a note of that. I'll try to include Lawrenceburg on some maps. Working on some stuff, and I'll try to make sure we include that. And then Richard says Fox 19 weather is the best. Thank you. We appreciate that. I always strive to be the best as whatever I can do. I'm somebody who, I'm a perfectionist, but I know that that perfect is impossible, but I'm always trying to work to achieve the best I can. So thank you. Appreciate that comment. Okay, so I know some folks travel going into the work week. We'll show you that travel forecast. Then we'll dive into the model data and then get into the 7-day and 14-day here in just a moment. At the mercy of the computer, which was running a little slow earlier, but we're not as slow as yesterday. Yesterday was kind of annoying, but today not so bad. You gotta love technology, right? Right now, though, we are looking at the forecast for our Monday for folks traveling across the Great Lakes, Ohio Valley region. I know sometimes we get some questions or comments about certain areas that are outside of the viewing area, and so I try to use this as a way to kind of help you out, because, of course, I can't look at every little detail of communities around outside of the tri-state, but this is just my way of trying to help you out however I can. Breezy winds in Chicago and in Cleveland. Temperatures a little bit cooler up that way. Mid-30s towards Indianapolis, Columbus, Pittsburgh, lower 40s. Actually up in Chicago in the 40s. Also down towards St. Louis, Lexington, Charleston, West Virginia, and in the upper 40s down into Nashville. So we got that going for us. Let's take a look at our forecast model, kind of zoomed in close to home. And this is going to show us that we got a few clouds out there right now, but they will clear out late tonight into our Monday. So here it is. The clouds will move on out Monday morning. Now, models are trying to depict maybe some patchy fog. I can't rule this out. However, I think this will be limited. This does not look to be a widespread concern for Monday morning commute, but patchy fog will be possible in some spots. Primarily where there's been a bit of a heavier snowpack, where that snow has melted today, with those temperatures above freezing. But regardless of that, it's not going to last long. If it does develop, you can see here by Monday mid-morning and afternoon, abundant sunshine. And then Monday night, take a look at this. We are looking at some cloud cover moving in. This is a weakening system. Not going to do very much of anything for us. But do note, maybe if you're traveling towards Tip City or Columbus, over towards Muncie, north of that, north of I-70, could see a flurry Monday night into Tuesday morning. Not for us in the tri-state, though. It's moving into some drier air. It's weakening. Not going to do anything but bring us some cloud cover Monday night into our Tuesday morning. You see here, Tuesday morning, cloudy skies. Look at that moisture to the top of the screen. And this is just going to fizzle out as it arrives here. This might be a new model run, but it should stay to the north. Yeah, see, there it is. It falls apart. So we go into Tuesday night. Clouds are clear on out of here. And then we've got warmer weather working its way into the tri-state as we head on into the afternoon. Now, as I mentioned, northeastern counties, Wednesday evening, there's one model that's trying to bring some precipitation into our northeastern locations, but I'm getting more and more confident that it might just be cloud cover, because at this point, most of the moisture looks to stay even northeast of Columbus. But this model, you can see here, it does show a little bit of moisture here. And if you look at the trajectory, it's just coming in out of the north and west. It kind of follows this line. It could get close. So if anything, a couple of raindrops, a couple of flakes, but no issues, no impacts, no squalls, nothing like that. It's going to be well off to the north and east of anything that's going to be more noticeable than what we're going to see Wednesday evening. But regardless, the main takeaway here in this forecast is dry. But with that dry air, it will be a little breezy. So what I want to do now is show you the forecast wind speed. And what we've got here is, hey, there's Lawrenceburg. So we've got a couple maps that do show Lawrenceburg. That's a positive here with this. I'm going to put this up full screen for you. That way you can see it yourself. This is wind, this should say wind gusts. This isn't wind speeds, but rather wind gusts. So we go ahead and go forward in time. Monday afternoon, gusts set around 20, 25 miles per hour. This continues Monday night into Tuesday. Again, gusts set around 20, 25. Winds will calm down briefly Tuesday morning, but then pick back up Tuesday afternoon at around 20, 25 miles per hour. We go to Tuesday night, though, winds will increase, gusts up to 30 miles per hour. And then Wednesday, a breezy day with gusts upwards of 30 miles per hour. So the next 3 days, we're tracking gusty winds. Now, this isn't enough to be of major concern, nothing of that matter, but I would say at best, if it's trash day for you, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, once the garbage truck comes by and picks up your trash, make sure you get that cart dragged down back to your garage or side of your house or wherever it may be, because if not, the wind might knock it over. But nothing more than that. So that is the wind forecast for the gusts over the next few days. Take a look at our long-range computer model. This will take us all the way through the next 8 or 9 days. And this is kind of at a wider scope, because if you try to zoom in, it gets a little weird because this has a little less details. When a model goes out longer in time, the details get a lot more fuzzy, just because there's a trade-off when it comes to forecast models. All forecast models are just tools. None of them are 100%. But with that, if you want more refined where the rain is or temperature, stuff like that, you can only go for a shorter distance. But if you go a longer distance, there's less variables and tends to get a little bit clunky, if you will. Anyway, here, enough of my explanations. Let's go ahead and dive into what we've got next week, or this upcoming week, I should say. So Monday, sunny. Monday night into Tuesday, a few clouds. We head into Wednesday, a few clouds. And do note, this is the model that is keeping that moisture way off to the north and east. I buy this. I agree with this, because there's one model, and if you are familiar with weather forecast models, the GFS is trying to bring this all the way down here. Everything else is really suggesting this is staying off further north and east. So this is what I'm sticking with right now. We go into Wednesday night. into Thursday. Looking clear, looking quiet. Thursday morning starts off with some sunshine. However, Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening, clouds are going to increase. And as we head into Thursday night into Friday, we've got this moving into the Ohio Valley. So our next chance of rain, and I say rain, is going to be Thursday overnight. So watch this. We go ahead, there it is, widespread, especially after midnight, Thursday night into Friday morning. And Friday, we could see some pockets of moderate rain. I can't rule that out. And this is going to continue Friday afternoon, Friday evening, and look at that. We're kind of in a target zone of some moderate rain. So if you got plans on Friday, especially outdoor plans, might be a chance where it might get put inside because of the rain. Now, I will say that the timing of this system has been wildly inconsistent, although recently the consistency has shown up of it being Thursday night and Friday as opposed to Friday night and Saturday. So I will say the heaviest of rain, we're going to need to monitor that as we get closer, but Friday could see some moderate rain. Right now it looks like afternoon and evening. Of course, as I mentioned, that could change. So this is Friday evening. We go into Friday night into Saturday, and here is where things get really tricky. I'm not going to show you any further on this model because it kind of it acts weird. It doesn't really align with what the temperatures are going to be, as well as it's just weird. I'll just put it that way. What we're dealing with going into the month of February is two air masses getting really close to the tri-state area. And what models are having a hard time with is where will the colder air be and where will the milder air be. And everything is pointing to the milder air winning out. The problem is that the models are having a hard time as to where it's going to be at the surface versus a little bit higher up. So there's this wild inconsistency as to precipitation types as well as what the temperature will be. But here's my 7-day forecast. I just updated this before 19atSIX. And don't worry, I will show you the 14-day forecast. But take it in here. You can see here, 39 for Monday, 45 Tuesday, and Wednesday, 46. Now do note, all three of those days, breezy. We go into Thursday. Clouds are going to increase, warming up to 48. With that rain moving in, we get a little bit warmer. 52 on Friday with rain likely. Saturday, scattered showers and 51. And then for Groundhog Day, mostly cloudy and 49 degrees. And do note, after Thursday morning, morning lows will be above freezing. This is what it looks like with the latest data trends, and I agree with this. Usually when you have a low pressure system like that coming in out of the south and west, unless it's pulling in the strong cold front and you get kind of a big area of high pressure with cold air settling in, you might see a rain-snow transition. But in this case, it does not look like that. So usually with a system like that moving in, you tend to get temperatures staying mild, maybe a slight dip in temperatures like I have here for Sunday on Groundhog Day at 49 degrees. So that is a 7-day forecast. Now let's go beyond the 7-day forecast. And as you can see, we've got a lot of uncertainty on our hands. And I didn't change the little groundhog, so that's my bad. The groundhog should not be there. And in fact, what I'm going to do real quick is edit that, because you'd see me work in action here. So that's my bad. So here we go. I don't know why I missed that. That's crazy. But one thing to take note of is that the fact that temperatures look to gradually cool down going into the second weekend of February. And this is where the uncertainty lies, because the models are trending a little bit cooler by then. But the problem here, sorry, I got to update this too while I do that. Okay. So wait for that to load, and I'll take it back to full screen for you. Just got to wait for this computer, which is now running slower. There we go. Now we're caught up. So what we've got here is that second, or I should say this is the first full week of the month of February. We are looking at temperatures gradually going down. So 50 for Monday, February 3rd. Right now it looks dry for the 3rd. The 4th also looks dry, high of 44. Then this is where we're kind of looking at these waves of moisture moving in. Now, when it comes to what the precipitation type will be, this is where things get really fuzzy. Steve Horstmeyer talked about this for the last couple of days, as well as myself. And this is really tricky, and I'll explain it if you're curious on a global map here in a moment. But just for those of you who are curious, going into that second weekend of February, we are looking at kind of a slight downward trend with temperatures getting in the upper 30s on the 7th, 8th, and 9th. And each day looks like it has a chance of moisture. Now, what will that moisture be? It's to be determined. Right now, I would say predominantly rain, but do note the overnight temperatures do fall below freezing a couple of nights. So that could mean a winter precipitation. And right now, that far out, you really can't forecast that because you got to look at all the different layers, and each model run will throw way different types of things. And that far out, a lot can change, and we expect it to change. And hopefully we get a lot more certain as to what to expect with those temperatures as well as precipitation as we get a little bit closer. Kind of a tricky forecast, and again, we'll dive into it here in a moment. All right, we'll take a pause real quick, look at those Facebook comments and questions, and then we'll go ahead and go into the whole La Nina situation we're talking about, and also explain why I have a lot of uncertainty with this forecast. All right. Stacy says, I have ice in my yard, neighbor's pipes busted, please melt. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I know with the cold air, that causes a lot of strain on plumbing and things of that nature. Yeah, there's still ice along the edge of the sidewalks where I live at in Milford. But today's sun helped melt a little bit of that, which is encouraging. But we got warmer days ahead here. And I'll switch us back to the 7-day. That way you can kind of see that here. Sam says, hi, Double E. You were talking about cooking bacon. That was, earlier. My little monologue of what I did today. Have you ever had a bacon and tomato sandwich? If not, please give it a try. I did not think that I would like it. I have BLT. I like BLTs. I'm not a big tomato person, so in order for me to like it, I had to have a lot of stuff on it. So like mayo, lettuce, and bacon, and bread, obviously, all together. I can tolerate tomatoes, but if it's just tomato and bacon, it's a little iffy for me. Although if it's cooked, I don't mind it. Okay. My Meemaw chimed in. Hello, everyone from Hillsborough. Hopefully you're having a good evening. All right, take a look at my Facebook page real quick. Oh, wow, got a lot more comments. Cindy says, hello, I heard February is going to be wetter than normal. Yes. And that's where that second, or I should say that first full week of February into the second weekend does look a little bit more active. So that's what we're going to talk about here in a second with the La Nina pattern I'm going to dive into. Betty says, thank you. Rely on Fox 19 Now Weather. You guys are the best. Thank you. Appreciate that. Cindy, this is a good question. Which model do you prefer? There are a lot of different types of models. There is the American model, which is the GFS. There's the European model, which is, I forget what the exact, what the letters stand for, but the letters are technically ECMWF, but European model. There's the Canadian model, which is the GEM. There's the NBM, which is the National Blended Model. That's an American model, but it has a lot of different things that kind of go into it. But I follow the trends. I follow what models do well and what they don't do well. You kind of, the more experience you gain, and when you're also learning some of these things in college and just through practice, you kind of figure out what their flaws are. You kind of figure out the pros and the cons, because again, no model's perfect. It's only a tool. It's kind of like, I'm trying to give a good example. I guess it'd be if you ask somebody what's the best oil performance in a vehicle, or where is the best, I don't know, different transmission oil or transmission fluid in your car, stuff like that. There's a preference for some of those things. They have pros, they have cons, and some of them you have to pay more for. Fortunately, with models, it's all available for use, but they do have limitations to them. But anyway, regardless, my favorite model to go for, I would say the blended model is probably my favorite right now. It's done a pretty good job at handling a lot of the recent trends. The European's usually pretty good. It's kind of our go-to for long term, but sometimes I also look at the GFS, especially lately with temperatures. The GFS has had a better grip on temperatures, whereas the European model has had better precipitation handling. Yeah, so enough about that. I could talk about that for a while. All right. Betty asks, do you think the groundhog will see its shadow or not? I'm trying to remember if it sees its shadow, that means spring is coming, or if it doesn't. I'll be honest, I'm not really, I don't pay attention to the groundhog very much. I should. As a meteorologist, I should. But I can't remember what thing means what. I think, considering the cloud cover in the area, I think the groundhog won't see its shadow, but I don't know what that means. So let me know in the comments what that means, because I forget. Debbie says, what a nice day today. Loved the sunshine. Glad you did. Lawrence says, snow will melt this week. Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Any remnant snow will be gone. Although those big piles in the parking lots, that might still stay there. That'll be icy. Betty says, I want to see spring come early. Cindy says, I love weather and you make understanding it easier. Of course. Thank you. Thank you, Cindy. Appreciate that. All right. No additional comments. No additional comments there. Okay. We're going to move on here to the kind of explainer as to why we're looking at an unsettled weather forecast going into the month of February. So I showed you the 14-day forecast, so we'll do it one more time. That's a 7-day. Rain coming in the end of the week, Thursday night, Friday, Saturday. We get a little dry on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, so going into February 4th. Then February 5th, we begin to see moisture move in, and it does kind of hamper the temperatures a little bit in the mid to upper 30s. Now at this point, these temperatures are just below normal for Cincinnati. And you're going to see here on the 14-day outlook, this is issued by the Climate Prediction Center. We're going to be on that cusp of the two different air masses. I talked about this yesterday, but I'll explain it again today for those of you joining us here on this Sunday edition of 19atSIX. As the map loads, there we go. You can see here we're kind of on this cusp of the warm and colder air. Now, as I mentioned, the models are trending a little bit warmer here. And right now, I've kind of kept the temperatures of what I had yesterday simply because there's just a lot of uncertainty. But I would be surprised to see those numbers go up a little bit as we get closer. But regardless, you can see we're not far off from that cusp of the colder air mass versus the warmer air mass here. So what's setting up is an area of high pressure, which is right here. And that high pressure is going to influence this pool of Gulf moist air. And as it moves in, with it being right next to two different air masses, it's going to gain some energy with that moisture to give us a more unsettled pattern. And this is kind of the setup for what we call La Nina pattern in the Ohio Valley. I'll explain on the La Nina pattern here coming up. But what you're going to see is a trend here, not just for the next 2 weeks, not just for the next month, but for the next few months here on the Climate Prediction Center's outlooks here. So this is the next 2 weeks with precipitation. You get this bullseye of moisture, and it's because, again, those two air masses are right there. When you have a difference of atmospheric temperatures and heights and stuff like that, pressure, you tend to get enough energy to work in to promote precipitation. So you have that cold air mass here, you have the warm air mass down here, and as I mentioned, that Gulf moist air is going to come right through the middle, and that's why we have that above average precipitation for the next 2 weeks. That's why much of the following week looks unsettled, especially midweek onward. So this is the next 2 weeks according to the Climate Prediction Center. Let's jump to the next 3 to 4 weeks. So there you have it. Data, and this is something I do agree with, does represent that warmer air mass beginning to win out. So we're kind of pushing that warmer air further up into the Ohio Valley. And the colder air looks to rescind a little bit going into middle of February. And with that being said, we still have that bullseye of precipitation right over the Ohio Valley. If that doesn't, if that's something where you're like, oh, there's a trend here, it's because we're in that La Nina pattern really beginning to set up. So this is the months of February, March, and I think going into April. Actually, yeah, no, this is February, March, and April. And as you can see here, that warm air mass is just right on the cusp of the Fox 19 now viewing area. And when you look over precipitation, here you have it, smack dab right over us, above average precipitation. And if you're curious, I bring up La Nina often. We brought this up a lot during the fall. It delayed itself, or the development was delayed just because of certain climate patterns. And Chief Meteorologist Steve Horsemeyer, I'll tell you what, he nailed the timing of this. Because back in October, November, I was thinking this was going to develop earlier. Steve has a wealth of knowledge, and he's like, no, based on these different factors, I don't get into too much of those because that could be kind of complicated, but he was saying this is going to develop going into January, February, and here we are talking about La Nina. So if you don't know what La Nina is, it is what's happening not for us, but down into the central equator, I should say, of the Pacific Ocean. And what you've got here is trade winds off of South America, and the winds blow from east to west. This is along and just south of the equator, mind you. But this is moving, again, east to west, pushing warm surface waters towards Asia. These winds get a little bit stronger, and as they do that, you get upwelling of colder water, or cooler water, to the surface in the equatorial Pacific, eastern Pacific. Now, as it does that, it influences the tropical jet and the polar jet, and that tropical jet, or I should say Pacific jet, technically speaking, but the Pacific jet and polar jet kind of get adjusted because of that. And based on data that goes back to, I believe, like the 20s and 30s at least, there's a correlation to how our weather pattern responds to that cooler water there in the eastern Pacific along the equator. And what this promotes for us here in the Ohio Valley is a wetter climate. And La Nina weather pattern like this, for example, is most often seen in the winter months or early spring. And we're looking at this developing late winter into spring. And when I say late winter, I mean February and March. March is beginning, or the end of winter, beginning of spring, and then going into early spring, which I mentioned includes April. So we are looking at this pattern really setting up here at this point. And I will say, I was looking at today the Ohio River Forecast Center and the National Weather, or National Water Prediction Center, which both of those look at various streams, creeks, rivers, and kind of assesses and predicts what we could expect with regards to rising waters, dry conditions, things like that, and how they affect streams. And I haven't had a chance to build any graphics for this, but there is a little bit of an increased confidence going into the next couple of months. We could see the potential for flooding in some rivers. And as I showed you all those different outlooks, as I showed you, we're going to getting to that beginning of this pattern. Most of February and much of March look to be pretty wet here in the tri-state. So if you live near a creek or stream or river, there's nothing imminent, but I would keep in mind that flooding could be possible here going into the next couple of months, given this climate pattern we're getting set up with due to the cold water there in the eastern Pacific. So that's La Nina. I could go on more about this, but I'm not going to. All right, got a new comment on the Fox 19 Facebook page from Molly, our friend, who sent us that beautiful shot of the eagle. In fact, what I'm going to do is show that now. There we go. If you have any photos you want to share with us, please do so at fox19.com/pics. That's P-I-C-S. It's a bald eagle on Pleasant Plain. That's in southern Warren County, really close to Claremont County. But Molly chimes in here, says, hope you're having a good Sunday. The sunshine made it nice. Thank you for sharing the bald eagle yesterday. There you go. You got it again. So appreciate you, Molly. All right. Look at my Facebook page real quick. Got a few more comments. Hey, Betty, thank you for explaining. If the groundhog sees its shadow, 6 more weeks of winter, if not early spring. Okay, well, that lines up to what I was saying. I think we're going to have a lot of cloud cover on Groundhog Day over in Pennsylvania, just based on what we're seeing and kind of offsetting what we're having Saturday here. But I think with the cloud cover and the rain, I think Puxatawny Phil won't see his shadow, and I believe we're going to have 6 more weeks, or 6 weeks until spring or early spring, and the forecast looks like that. So I'm betting on, and I'm not actually betting, but just saying that the groundhog will not see his shadow, and we'll have an early spring. Molly asks, do you know what the eagle is eating? I don't. I will say bald eagles, just based on what I know from the different parks I've been to and kind of reading some of the informational things, bald eagles are kind of scavengers in a sense. So this could very likely be maybe roadkill or an animal that had recently died. So that's my guess, but that's not for certain. But that would be at least my guess, just based on the fact that it looks like it doesn't look fresh, at least in this image. Not to get too graphic. But this looks like a young bald eagle, though, because I was noticing in some of the photos you share with me, Molly, that it still has some brown spots on its head, and its beak still has some partial brown on it. I do know that young eagles, during the pandemic, I watched a lot of nature videos, so I have weird facts about the most random things. But I did see that bald eagles, when they're young, don't have the bald, the white head and the yellow beak initially. It's brown, but then it fades into that white head. So this looks like it could be a young bald eagle. And I would assume that is maybe either roadkill or nothing that's fresh. I believe we'll end that conversation there. But hopefully that answers your question, Molly. Again, I'm not certain. I'm by no means am I an expert on that. In fact, if there's any experts in the chat who do know more about bald eagles, let me know. Let Molly know. All right, one last look at our 7-day forecast. We've been going on here for about 45 minutes. And then we'll go ahead and conclude our 19atSIX weekend weather show. Molly says, thanks for the information. You're welcome. I would recommend looking some of that stuff online just to verify what I've said. But like I said with the last question you had, not really certain on that. All right. No more additional comments here, so we'll go ahead and wrap this up here. 7-day forecast. We've got overnight low tonight of 19 degrees, high of 39 Monday, breezy and sunny. Monday night, 30, and then we head into Tuesday, 45, partly cloudy and breezy. And then Wednesday morning, above freezing for the overnight low, 35. Wednesday up to 46, partly cloudy and breezy. Thursday, a little bit cooler in the morning. We're looking at clearing skies, so down to 25. Thursday, though, during the day, up to 48. Clouds are increasing ahead of that system that's going to bring us rain Thursday night into Friday. Friday, 52. That rain is likely after a morning low of 36. Saturday, scattered showers will continue, and by Groundhog Day next Sunday, mostly cloudy and 49 degrees. I'm going to predict that the groundhog will not see his shadow because of the cloud cover there in Puxatawny, Pennsylvania. And I think we're going to have an early spring, and the forecast does suggest that we are looking at more spring-like conditions in terms of temperatures being above normal, as well as more moisture here at this point. But that is 7-day forecast. Of course, for more details on this forecast, you can go to fox19.com/weather, and as well on the 24/7 weather streaming channel. That's going to do it for us here on this Sunday edition of our 19 at 6 weekend weather show. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully you have a wonderful Sunday evening. We'll see you tonight at 10 o'clock on Fox 19, but maybe you got to go to bed early. And if that's the case, we'll be beginning at 4:30. Of course, we've got you covered on Fox 19 with Frank Marzullo giving you the latest first alert forecast. And then, of course, meteorologist Catherine Bodak beginning at 9 a.m. right here on Fox 19 Now.